from the All Indiana Podcast Network. It's Diversity Focus Today. Now, here's your host, Ricky Solid Gold Clark.
And welcome once again to another edition of Diversity Focus Today. I am your host, Ricky Solid Gold Clark, along with my co-host today and always, attorney Mike Murray.
Hey, Ricky.
And our feminine Dr. T.
I'm getting confident now.
Yeah, you're getting confident with the wave. Okay.
The royal wave.
The royal wave. Okay.
Well, prior you said award winning, so I had.
Well, yeah, award winning. Okay, exactly. All righty. Get down to business on our program this evening, tonight, this morning, whichever time you're watching this. We're going to talk a little bit about a number of things, and I want to start out talking about business, small business, diversity-oriented business, which includes everybody, even the university, since they've been told not to promote DEI, which is an issue with me and a great deal of folks that I know about that. So I know on the previous show we were talking about some of the universities, like our governor now. They slipped it in during the very last hour of the session that they recently had, and where they give him the power to hire and fire the board members for Indiana University, which to me is unheard of. Now, maybe they've done that in the past. I just never known that to be an issue. Any comments from the team this morning, this evening, this night, tonight, right now?
It is an overreach, in my humble opinion, of the executive authority of the state into the world of academia. Even accrediting institutions want to make sure that academic institutions are governed by academics. There's a shared governance and an academic freedom kind of concept that has long been recognized by higher education, and this seems to allow the governor to reach in and put politics into the middle of that.
Yeah, that's not good. Tammy?
Yes, academic freedom, I think, is getting. Sorry. It is kind of scary in a sense of having a governing body jump into the educational, academic realm. Being a professor, adjunct professor at different universities, I always pride myself with having classes that talks about, hey, bring your experience here. This is a safe space to share knowledge, explore knowledge, and deal with it. That's what that setting is for, and to be able to have to put that in there doesn't seem right to me.
Well, and unless lest people think that academic institutions don't have any kind of governing body absent the governor or the executive authority. Every one of them already has a governing structure. They have a board of trustees or board of regulators. They have faculty senates that participate in that process. That's the whole shared governance. They've got administration that is there on the campus listening to what the students need, what the faculty needs, and that is the shared governance model. But what we're seeing now is government interjecting itself into the actual management and administration of academic institutions. It's very close to propagandizing. It's very close to having the government program people. More and more you get down that road, it's programming. It's not educating, it's more programming, indoctrinating.
Right.
Well, we are where we are. I don't know what the next step might be, but I know he only did that for right now for the Indiana University. I don't know about any of the other universities, but let's hope he does not attempt to control them as well. I'm hoping that's not going to be the case for any of the state universities. Now, of course, the private universities, I don't believe, have that type of authority.
Well, it doesn't have direct authority, but there are things that the state can do around licensing and other kind of, grant regulation, other kind of regulations.
State had just signs, change their DEI plan.
Right.
Yeah.
For the grant money, so we could survive.
Right.
So that's a carrot
Right.
over them as well.
And of course, from the federal level, you see what the president is doing with Harvard and every other academic institution, such as Ball State. I mean, that's why they changed their policies, because they're afraid of tackling the government or entangling with the government. We hope that this isn't going to continue, but as people in the military say, hope is not a plan. You have to act.
Did they say any reason why he put that in, or the purpose for?
He wanted control. He's a Trumper, so he wanted control like the president has over the nation.
Okay.
He wants that. So that's the only reason that I can think of that he may have. And they snuck it in at the very last minute.
Right,
They got less than an hour before the session was over with.
Literally.
And this happened after midnight.
Right.
So he figured nobody's paying attention, and so they passed it because,
So it
our
was
state
a
of
minute.
Indiana is Republican controlled.
That was the SB 1 bill.
I don't
that was
know
the
what they
tax
call
bill.
it. I think that was the tax. That was the
Enrolled
property
Act
tax.
101 or
Right,
something like that.
Yeah, but they wrote it into something else. And
Oh,
that's how
okay.
they do to try to hide these things. So
Unfortunate.
anyhow, we just have to, just bite the bullet and see how
And then
long this is going to last.
I would also just to add, it doesn't have to just start with schooling. People can educate themselves, do story, book clubs, shared ideas, parents teaching their kids at home. So it's ways of getting knowledge out there and continuing traditions, amongst the community. We shouldn't put it all on just, that.
Well,
it's grassroots, as they say, right? A lot of
Grassroots,
different things you can
you
do
gotta
to build up.
protests like they're doing all across the country, in which
The judge.
The one in
recently
the judge
Milwaukee.
got arrested because
That was hundreds of people out there in Chicago protesting this past weekend for that.
Pretty much every week there is major protests going on in pretty much every part of the country, every city, including Indianapolis, Indiana. So, which I like. Okay, Andy, go ahead. Don't get left out.
Right. And I'm kind of glad of it. It gives me a little bit of hope that people are trying to make themselves heard, because I'm not sure that really happened prior to the election. But Donald Trump and those of his ilk showed us who they were. I don't think people believed it until now.
Yeah.
And now that it's starting to have some real world impact, I think people are starting to, have second thoughts. And I don't want to portray this in purely partisan terms. It seems to be coming down to that simply because of who's advocating what. But this is a greater issue to me.
Right.
It's a greater issue about government being responsive to the actual needs of the people. I mean, we have this concept that we are, governance by the people, for the people, and I'm not really sure
Where is that happening?
that's happening.
Right.
Yeah.
But when people get out on the streets and make themselves
Then you
heard,
see it.
then you start to see a little bit more of that. But you've got to be informed, and you got to get out there, and you've got to make yourself heard.
Yeah, most definitely. And now, keep in mind, folks, we can make a change, especially in 2026. That is an election year for both for the House of Representatives, everybody there, and for a third of the Senate. And we're dealing with the United States Senate and the United States House of Representatives, but it will also be that way for the state of Indiana and their House of Representatives. I think pretty much all of them will be up for re-election. I'm not sure the Senate, probably just a third of the Indiana State Senate, but this is the time to gear up, plan accordingly, find out who's going to be running, and know who they are, and know what they have done, know what their policies, and if there are policies that they're doing that you don't like, vote them out.
And I might even add, consider running for something yourself.
Right,
Exactly.
local. That's what I was saying. It could change on a smaller level.
You can run
community boards, home HOAs, home, you know.
Yeah, that
all that.
You're local, and they're
City commerces.
I think they, and you guys correct me if I'm wrong. I think they may have passed a new law in Indiana whereby if you're running for school board, maybe they did, maybe they didn't, but I know they were trying to pass a new law that says if you run for school board, you got to declare, are you a Republican or a Democrat or an independent? So, and that's never occurred. Why would you want to declare?
Right, and you're helping your children. And
Yeah, but but anyhow.
Well, and that whole focus on education and what's going on in public policy as far as education is concerned, as a prior general counsel for a couple higher ed institutions, I'm particularly concerned about that because they start tinkering with education policy and the meat of how higher education institutions do their jobs.
Right.
It harkens back to, I think it was a Carter Woodson quote where he said, if you control a man, but if you control a person's thinking, you don't need to worry about their actions. So
Okay, yeah.
you're starting
the
here
seed,
before,
right,
yeah.
putting the seed in there.
Okay. Well, as we go to a different topic, this is more localized, and that is how we coming on the chuck holes, potholes.
Honestly, me driving in, I said, I'm going to just take note just in case you ask.
And what did your findings
And
bring?
my GPS took me down Benford this time. Okay. It had moments. They doing reconstruction there, but coming up down Fall Creek, a little bit better, but yeah, I saw some big crevices along the way.
The roads I frequently travel, I've seen some patching done.
Yeah. Okay.
But I still see some places where you got to do the slalom to get through without breaking an axle. It's coming along.
Zigzag. I'm doing, what is it, like Donkey Kong jump?
Yeah.
I'm maneuvering piles. But better. I guess it's an improvement.
Yeah, I think it is. But, it's always a matter of money. And everybody wants the taxes to be low, and people want government to not spend so much money. But there's a surefire way, both nationally, statewide, and locally, a surefire way to make sure that government doesn't spend any money, and that's to do nothing.
Do nothing, right.
But the simple fact of the matter is government exists to provide services and protection for people. So it's a matter of, what you're going to have them spend the money on. Some spending is going to be necessary. Whether we need to have $90,000, $100,000 automobiles for our public officials,
Right.
I don't know about that one.
You're right. You're right. I was in Speedway this morning, and I think in one of our programs we mentioned the fact that watch how, as we get closer to the 500-mile race, watch how Speedway and the streets leading toward the Speedway are cleaned up and no chuck holes and potholes. And I'm out this morning at between 7 and 8 o'clock, and guess what I saw not once but twice?
Construction?
No.
Oh.
Potholes repair in and around Speedway, up and down 16th Street and Crawfordsville, even coming down High School Road, ladies and gentlemen, close to the Speedway. And I thought
Imagine
that. They were starting.
What Brian has said.
During 7, it was after 7 a.m. this morning, and I thought, hey, look at here. Somebody had mentioned that. Watch the closer it gets to race day, how that section of the city will be cleaned up completely.
Yeah, that's a Brian.
Pothole. Yeah, Brian said that. Brian Wallace said that. Yeah, that the chuck holes or potholes, whichever you call them, big holes in the street will get repaired or paved over. Not only just filled in, but they're taking the various sections. And let's not just fill this in. Let's just for the next 50 feet each way. Let's go ahead and fix that all and smooth those out. So it ain't got close to my street, but like I said, I was in Speedway and they were working hard over there. So if that's what it takes, hey, spread the joy.
This is all addressing infrastructure spending. People don't want to pay taxes. Politicians don't want to authorize, public spending for things, infrastructure suffers in the long run, and then we complain about it. So,
Well, there's, you had a hard winter. We had these chuckles before the hard winter. What's up with that? Come on, y'all. Do me a favor and just fix them, You got money to do other things. If you're anything downtown, downtown gets beautified and fixed and so what have you. That's another area that they pay more attention to than neighborhoods. So, the mayor, anyway, I'll leave that alone. The other thing that I wanted to bring up, and I got on my notes, that by the time this show is aired, it will be, several weeks after this particular incident. But some of you may have seen where ICE, a family had just recently moved into a rental property in Oklahoma. They came from the East Coast, and they thought Oklahoma would be ideal for their families and so what have you. And they had been in the house for 2 weeks. And ICE raided them, early morning raid, and it was the wrong house.
oh wow.
They had just rented the house, and they'd been in it for 2 weeks. And the way they treated the people, and me coming also from a law enforcement background, was totally illegal. I don't care if you have and you're supposed to leave the search warrant. They didn't leave anything. I mean, they just came in Gestapo-wise and just...
Those are very Gestapo tactics.
Wow.
Kick in the door, go in. And one of the things that I've been noticing with some of these ICE raids is when they bring the detainees out, they bend them over. They kind of let them or make them come out in no clothes, and
That was the case
these
of this
are
family.
very, very Gestapo tactics. And when I joined the military, I was commissioned under President George H.W. Bush, and this was a man that spoke about a kinder, gentler nation, and we are anything but that now.
Yeah.
Anything but that. We are crass. We are bullies. We have no respect for other people, but that should not be any surprise because we don't seem to be demonstrating respect for one another inside this country. I'm a bit appalled at what I see. I don't recognize some of the things that are going on in the name of you and me, the American people.
Yeah, well, and then the other thing, now, supposedly it was the FBI, it was ICE, and the U.S. Marshal Service. Now, the U.S. Marshal Service said, no, we wasn't there. We ain't got nothing. That wasn't us. The FBI originally said, yeah, okay, we had some agents there. And then when everything came out as to what happened, they pulled back. No, we didn't. That was strictly ICE. Well, originally, you guys said it was 3 different folks, U.S. Marshal, and then the FBI, who originally said, yeah, we were there. But now all of a sudden, because the heat is coming down the street, oh no, it wasn't us. It was ICE, and I mean, so they're pointing fingers to each other. Because, Mike, you're a lawyer. With a case like this, I'm sure lawyers out there are going to jump on this. Are you kidding me?
Absolutely. Civil rights? Well, absolutely.
Yeah, and wrong house.
So was the house next door, or was it?
Well, here's the thing. It was the people that just rented it. They'd been there for 2 weeks. So ICE apparently was going after the folks that used to be there. But you're supposed to do your due diligence prior, at least 12 hours. If you're going to do a search warrant, most judges and most officers are going to take and check, and then 12 hours, and some of them really 4 hours before they do it to make sure this doesn't happen. Now, it does happen every now and then, but when you do that, that opens the door for a lawsuit to the agencies and the city and the state, in this case, the feds. And they've got a great case. So that's why I said, well, I know there's a bunch of lawyers jumping on top of that.
Was it children involved as well, too?
It was, because see, it was the young lady and her 2 or 3 children. The husband had not, he was, they were all being transferred, had moved there. So he wasn't there. He was on his way there, but he was still at the airport trying to get home. So he wasn't even there. They hit it about 4 o'clock a.m. And made everybody stand out in, basically in their undergarments. And you don't do, and once again, they didn't even leave a copy of the search warrant, which you're supposed to do.
People talk about plaintiffs' lawyers all the time, and look at them as shysters and ambulance chasers. And I'm a guy whose career has been really on the defense side. I've always been corporate counsel, military counsel, so I've defended the institutions. But this is really the kind of thing that shows the benefit or the positive aspects of plaintiffs' bar, plaintiffs' lawyers, because they are holding government to account. And whether you like the idea that somebody might sue an agency and win and get lots of money that taxpayers ultimately end up having to pay for, the thing is, the plaintiffs' bar is suing and holding government accountable for protecting and enforcing the rights of these people, people who could easily have been you, or me, or your neighbor. It's not a pleasant thing, and sometimes as a corporate defense person, I roll my eyes at some of these things, but this is exactly what our system of justice is designed to do. We have opposing counsel, and this is what happens, but it needs to happen.
It needs to. And the president has already made the statement that, you could be a citizen, not, and, anybody could be, that could happen to anybody.
And basically he said, I don't care. The latest thing was he said he could bring this gentleman back from Venezuela, but he won't.
Don't want to,
he doesn't want to do it. And the courts have said, you must. And he's flouting the rule of law. And to me, somebody that's taken an office to support and defend the Constitution of the United States and who is the chief law enforcement officer, that's frightening for someone in that position to say and act that way.
Well, can the judges, I know that the president can't be arrested or held in contempt, I guess, but what about the lawyers that represent him?
That is a possibility.
Can they be placed in jail when they're in contempt?
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that's
what they need to start doing then,
But what you're going to get, and I think that's probably a viable tool for some of the judges to use, but what you're going to get is maybe people who are saying, well, I'm not going to represent, I'm not going to pursue that course because I don't want to go to jail. But that doesn't directly make a change in the underlying action. It just punishes the people who are supposed to be implementing those courses of action.
That's a start.
It's a start, but it doesn't actually change the substantive result.
Well, in my opinion, I think they need to do that.
They could, and I think we're
entering uncharted territory here. I don't believe there's ever been a time when the executive has completely flouted, the judicial. And so if at the end of the day the executive says, tough, I'm not going to do it, the courts are going to be faced with a quandary. They could engage their own enforcement officials and arrest people, but it's going to create a constitutional crisis.
We already got one. So we might as well just, jump in with both feet.
We're headed that way.
All right. Well, listen, we've got, I know we said we were going to talk a little bit about business. We talked about that on the previous show, especially business and these tariffs. We've talked about the chuck holes, potholes, whichever you want to call them. We touched briefly in previous shows about domestic abuse. What else have I missed on any of the previous things that we had on the list? Oh, some of the entertainment that's coming in. That's the other thing. In the future, we've got some potential guests that will come from the entertainment industry. In the summertime, summertime, there's a lot of activity in the entertainment circle with different artists coming in town and so on, what have you, and maybe we can be able to grab one or two as a guest that come into the city or that's doing different things into the city. So we'll keep abreast on that. What else have I missed, crew? Help me here.
The Juneteenth, I just saw something that they canceling the parade for that because of the route. Did you hear that?
Yeah, I heard that, but they're still doing Juneteenth, other celebrations other than the parade.
At the state fairgrounds or something like that?
I'm not sure where it's going to be, but I do know that the person that was behind that said something about getting permits, couldn't get all the permits in time. But
it should be bigger and better next year because they didn't have enough time to really plan.
Yeah, well, that's just a parade. He claims he's still going to have it at wherever it is. You said it's going to be at the fairgrounds?
I don't know. I was just wondering. I think so, yeah.
Okay,
yeah. Because I am set to vendor during that 3 days.
Are you a vendor?
Events. Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
That's in June. Yeah. I know they're doing a fireworks show, and then because they sent the email saying it had got switched to, I think, the fairgrounds.
Okay. So. And that's June the 19th? June the 19th?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I know it's 3 events that they have going on. A boxing event, and a fireworks or something, and then a celebration. So.
Oh, okay. Well, see, I wasn't aware of that. That's what we got. That's why we have you, Doc. You're
so Juneteenth.
Juneteenth,
this will be your, yeah.
Okay.
Talk more about it when it comes to.
Well, we're getting close.
Shows.
I mean, we're,
Be here before you know it.
Here before, exactly.
And that's what I'm saying. Despite the law and DEIs, we can still celebrate our cultures. We can still put ourselves out there with events and parades and
we certainly need
local
to do that.
Governments, libraries.
The team that's doing the Holocaust, they said, okay, fine, we're still going to do it.
Right.
We don't need. I mean, look, you can do what you want to do.
Right.
We're still going to do it.
Right.
Whether you allow us or you have no way, you can't stop us. You might deal with the museum, but we're more than a museum.
Right. Mm-hmm. That was my point. Exactly.
Exactly. So you can't stop us.
More than what it is.
Mr. President or Mr. Governor or whomever trying to halt these things by holding the money back on these different issues and different museums and so on, what have you. So anyway,
warping policy to affect that as well.
Right.
Yeah. So I think we got just a few more seconds to go. And so anything else before we got for the good of the order? Got less than 30 seconds.
Did you say a holiday or something else?
Less than 30 seconds now.
Well, I was just going to talk about May 1st having been, by the time this airs, Law Day, which is respect for for due process and the laws of the United States. But we touched on
that's
that.
Under fire, but we touched on that. So maybe we can elaborate on the next program. I'm getting tongue-tied. So all right, we got to go. So thank you so much for watching, listening to Diversity Focus today with our team. Thank you very much.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye.